the candidates, and if you'll give me this this point of personal privilege as national committeeman, I think it's maybe the most important question that on political issues we're going to ask this evening. A one-word answer.
Show your card, and you have that right. So.
I've played my card. If someone other than you receives the Republican nomination in Congressional District 8, will you support that candidate in your political party? This is for Mr. Miller, and I'd like a one-word answer from him and each of the candidates.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Roxanne, next.
Good answer.
For Brian Miller.
Glad you did that. That's great. Mr. Miller, I think this is the last question under political strategy. What specifically can you do to achieve change in the political corruption in Washington?
Excellent. Excellent question. You know, one of the questions I'm asked, very similar to this, is what can one man do? What can one person do when they go there to Washington, D.C.? It's a pit of corruption. It's a pit of power. It's a pit of politicians who stay up there for a lifetime. And you know what? The vision of our founders, I don't think, was to have, especially in the House of Representatives, people that stay up there for 30 and 40 years, and the only way to get rid of them is to wait for them to die. I'm a huge supporter of term limits. I've made a personal pledge I will serve no more than 4 terms in the House of Representatives. Because you know what? Politicians that stay up there, they don't get smarter, they don't get better. They just get more powerful and more corrupt. And in addition, you got to recognize, you know, I sat down and I said, how are we going to make a stand against not only the special interests up there that want special favors, but how about the party establishments that are oftentimes equally part of the problem? So you got to build coalitions. You got to build like-minded people together, but you got to do it before we get there. And so I started an organization called the Freshman 50. And it's an effort to put 50 citizen legislators from around the country together under a simple and succinct platform that can change the nature of Washington, because we can go there with power in numbers. Strength in numbers, that's what we need. So Big Ten ideas like balance the budget. Hey, there's a novel idea. Apply the law equally. Laws that apply to Congress, or to American citizens, also apply to Congress. And how about this one? Read the bill. And you know how we're going to do that? We're going to say that whenever a bill comes before Congress, it has to be read in its entirety on the floor of the House before it goes to the vote by one of the sponsors. And if you're not there to listen to the whole doggone thing, including amendments, you don't get to vote on it. Now, do you think those clowns up there in Washington are going to create 2,000-page bills if they were forced to read the whole thing on the House floor? I don't think so. That's the answer we need.
Andy, you just raised your card. I would suggest that we want to be able to keep this fair. We're not going to have another rebuttal for a few moments here until Brian Miller still has his opportunity to have his rebuttal opportunity. When that goes through, then we'll continue rebuttals after that, if that's okay with you. Next question is for Senator Paton. Joe Higgins.
The topic has been moved to healthcare issues.
Yes.
In your opinion, what is the role of tort reform in improving our healthcare system?
It is estimated that there's about $65 million or $65 billion that costs our current healthcare system. It all is related to medical liability. In our state right now, in the state of Arizona, there is a cap that is put on the entire state on capping damages. We've tried to put this on the ballot about 3 times, and each time the voters have rejected it. One of the things that we have never really looked at in this country, because it's always been a question of either you're going to put caps on damages, which the voters keep rejecting, or you're going to allow rampant liability lawsuits. There's something else that we've never really tried in this country, and I think it's a great idea. We have lost sight of what we used to have in this country. tort law and contract law. Contract law used to be almost as important as tort law. But all of a sudden, over time, in the 70s, we've seen that was constantly degraded by the Supreme Court and the various courts throughout this country. What that means is that an individual can contract freely with someone else. They can decide, for example, a doctor can offer a policy to someone or offer a contract with somebody. That limits their liability, and that person can decide if they want to freely enter that contract or go with someone else. The courts today don't allow that to happen. That will dramatically reduce lawsuits in this country by a large measure. We need to revisit that because it expands freedom rather than constricting our options. And we have a very liberal court that all throughout the 70s, and we've seen it up until today, that constantly decides that it wants to interpret for the people what's best for them instead of what the people should be deciding for themselves.
As a reminder,